So what does it mean to have a pure heart and a pure intention? Because that, in many ways, is the key. Now, when we talk about spiritual purity, it's important to understand that it does not mean that you are dirty. You might have a dirty mind, but that's something else entirely. There is nothing dirty about you that has to be cleansed out. It's your misunderstandings. It's that you are not in alignment, because it's only when something is in alignment, which means it acts and moves as an extension of oneness. It's only then that it is alive. It's only then that flow can come through completely. And that's purity. Impurity spiritually is simply what blocks it, and when something is out of alignment. So, when we talk of levels of alignment and the processes we go through in all our learning cycles, we have, darkness, and we have light, and we have nothingness. Darkness is not a force. It is simply when something is unplugged, right? Just like a lamp. When it's not plugged in, no light. Big deal. It's not evil. It's just not plugged in, right? And it's important to understand that it's simply lack of alignment, because when something is not in alignment, there is no flow, no light. So when we experience darkness in our life, simply that, in that point, I'm not aligned. And because of that, we get sad and depressed and all of that, because, no light. Then becoming self-centered, feeling sorry for yourself is not the way to plug in your appliance, right? It's finding the outlet. And that's all it is. And often we will need darkness in order to seek the outlet, which might be placed in unconventional places. So there's darkness and there's light. Light, as I've explained before, is the experience of resistance, which is very strange, because we always associate spiritual truth with light. Yes, it is whenever you are being exposed to a vibration or information above your current level of vibration and consciousness, which means you vibrate something, and then that information vibrates higher. And the difference between the two will cause this friction, just like in physics, that will be experienced as light. So when you experience light, you're in communication with something that is higher than your current consciousness. But still, the light will only be there for as long as you have resistance. It is the direct experience of interaction with that higher principle. And the third major level is nothingness. When you have acclimatized to that, whatever it is you are in negotiations with, when you vibrate the same, there is nothing. So there is no light, because you vibrate the same. And often before nothingness, which can be very confusing, is if you start often with darkness, just like seeing some kind of light in the distance and not understanding anything. So we just walk around, and trying to figure things out. But then we go into light, which is relating directly to what will create growth. But then at some point, when you have acclimatized, life will check, have you internalized it? Are you now vibrating it? And what is needed for that? The external light will go away. So there's only you. If you have not internalized it, you will find yourself in darkness again. And this process is referred to as the dark night of soul. We all go through it thousands and thousands of times. but it's simply the process of seeing how much have you actually learned, because you are to become that light. It's not, in the beginning, when we are in the acclimatization, it's about us surrendering, right? We surrender, we let go, we do all of that to gradually being able to open ourselves to that light information and get close to it. But that's not how we can live. We have to internalize it, we have to vibrate it ourselves so the information become who we are. Then the test is, do you become the lamp? Do you become the light in the world? So often when there are kind of, especially bigger cycles, you will then be placed in complete darkness. You say, okay, be your own lamp, show us what you've learned. And it shows then what have you internalized, what have you actually learned? Because when you are surrounded by light and you're bathing in it, you think that surrender is all it takes. It's not. So you have to test, am I actually that light now? Am I vibrating the same? So the darkness will show your light. In this process, if you have internalized the light in that acclimatization, you will not notice it because it will not be dark night of soul, because your space will be filled by the same light. You will be filled by the same light because you, in that information, you are the same. So the dark night of soul will not happen. So it's basically the light that surrounds you disappears and there's no difference because you are then vibrating that exact information and wisdom. And then you move into nothingness where the light disappears also inside of you because there is no resistance. That can be confusing too. There's a lot of confusion. As you know, in spiritual work, there's mostly confusion. But in the nothingness, because there is no resistance, there is no need for manifestation. So all the kind of spiritual manifestations disappear because they all represent the learning process and you becoming acclimatized to what you're studying. And then people come to me and say, like, where is it? I don't experience anything anymore. Like, where did the light go? Where did my spiritual link go? It's all gone. So, no, you internalized it. You became it. Now, let me introduce you to your next step. Then we start all over again, right? That's how it is. But it's important in our spiritual work to understand the movement, the steps, the cycles, because it's not mysterious. When we experience the dark night of soul, it's not a punishment. It's a help. Because maybe you didn't pay attention. Maybe you were too busy bathing in the light, in the wisdom, instead of becoming it. That's really what the purpose is. What sticks, right? And also in that process for you then to go back and learn so that you then internalize and become that complete wisdom available to you.